Evening, everybody. What better place to be than in the warm, eh? It really is cold out there today, but there again, it's January, so what do we expect, to be honest? When you're watching this back in July, you might even be wishing, well, I will, that it was a bit colder. But I thought we'd do a little bit of a technique class today. And so I wondered if any of you had a new die cutting machine for Christmas, or for that matter, the one you've already got. But something that we don't often do is actually emboss our die cuts with, well, I know I don't anyway, with the die cutting machine. So I thought we'd have a go at that and do a little bit of a quirky card at the same time. So why not? So I have got the paper pad that I used for what did I use that for? A card last week. I can't even remember. Oh, the pocket card, wasn't it? So that's the one where we've got the gingham on one side and the, what was it called? Cottage wallpaper on the other side. And I really, you know what I'm like, I really wanted to use that. So I've used that. So I'm just going to make this card up first. So that's what I've used. I've used moss green and I've used the one of the papers out of here, the Duo Design. I've also used the, let me just get them in so you can see what they are, the Hunky Dory nesting dies. So I've got the scalloped dots, which is this set here, and then I've got the Duo Dotty nesting dies. I did use them before, so just pointing out that's what I'm using. So I've cut out the, size numbers 1 for this one, die number 1 and 5 for these, and then using the Duo dotty, so that means it's got dots one side and then the other, but I've not used the other side obviously. And that one is die number 2 and die number 6, so that they nest into these quite nicely. I noticed I've got lots of dots to get rid of. So that's the bits that I'm using. None of them are new as such, so I didn't put them up on our newsletter, which is why, oh gosh, sorry about that. That woke you up, didn't it? If you weren't watching then, just poke out these little bits and pieces. So with our die cutting machine, I'm going to use the Spellbinders Scout, but it's the same principle for all of the Spellbinders ones, the Spellbinder Platinums, but for that matter, the same principle for any die cutting machine that uses the embossing mat. So that's just like a rubber mat that you can use, and it just gives more definition, more detail to your die cut pieces. And I thought I would show you, hopefully show you. I will be able to do it. I'm not saying in that respect, hopefully showing you. I'm just hoping that what will be apparent is close enough for you to be able to see, because the detail in real life is really, really good. But maybe I'm hoping it'll show on the camera. I'm going to be using this as the die. This is the Miniature Village collection from Sue Wilson. Came out last October or November, and it's such a little pretty one. I'm using the Primrose Cottage, but there are more designs on it. A lot of detail in it. There are 6 dies. There is the main one, which is the cottage itself, but you also have the windows separately, top and bottom. You have the door separately. You have the chimneys, 2 chimneys, you have them separately, and you also have a little lamppost, which is again a separate die. Okay, so 6 dies altogether, because those 2 are joined together, and so is that one. So I'm going to show you how to do that in a minute. Let's just construct the card. I was going to say destruct. Let's hope I'm not going to destruct it. I think I'll add this to it first. So you can see I've got the gingham on one side and the cottage wallpaper on the other. Just going to put a bit of glue on there. Oh, my phone's going to ring just at that moment, but sorry, I'll have to bear with you on that one. Just going to pop that then onto my front like that. And the card that I'm using is the moss green, and it is the Adorable Scoreable, which means that it's white on one side. And I felt that that was handy because I'm going to make it into a circular rocker card. And then you can write your sentiment inside here. Whereas if I used green both sides, not so good. So hence why I thought I'd use that. So I'm then going to fold this in half and just grab my bone folder and just crease that. So that makes that into that rocker card like that. Because I'm using the scalloped dotty edges there, it does tend to rock. What was I going to say? Rock well. That doesn't really make much sense, does it? But rock so that it's not going to rock and roll off, but that it still rocks quite nicely. I quite like that idea. I've then got my smaller one, and I'm going to pop that about halfway. Okay. Got tape stuck to me already. So I'm going to put glue on about halfway. And then I'm going to turn that over. Actually, I'm not going to turn that over. I'm going to turn this over initially. I don't want the glue anywhere it shouldn't be. But that more or less is about right. And then I will just check when I go to sit it up that that is not uneven and therefore it rocks too much. But I think I've managed it okay there. So that's my card base. It would go into a 6x6 card, envelope, but you might want to make a smaller one, a more sort of unique one to it if you wish. But the card really is almost irrelevant. I just wanted to put something together so it shows you. I have cut this one out, but I intend to do a little bit of stamping on there first. So I'm not going to stick that straight on there because the stamping would be almost impossible to get absolutely crisp and correct beforehand. So I will leave that to the last minute and pop that to one side. So now I'm going to bring in my little machine. So this is my machine. This is, as I said, the Spellbinders Platinum Scout. It's their smallest of the machines, and it's ideal for these small dies. But of course, you could do the same technique in any die cutting machine that has the embossing mat that will go with it. I'm not so sure that every machine has got that embossing mat, but you can get universal embossing mats that may well do the trick if your machine has not got one. As I said, this is a good design because virtually everything's done for you. We like that sort of thing, don't we? I'm lying on its side so I can see, you can see. So this machine comes with all of these pieces. So you've got your platform base, and the bit I like is that actually stamped onto there is the sandwiches, if you could call it that, of all the different things that you might want to be able to do it. So you've got how to cut a die, and then you've got how to emboss a cut shape, which is what we're going to do. But also you've got on this one how to use it for embossing, so an embossing folder, and also if you were going to use a 3D embossing folder, because obviously they are a lot thicker. Almost irrelevant, but you know, I got an embossing folder from America for my son, for Christmas, and I've got to show you this. I'm digressing, but hold on a second. Because it's a really gorgeous embossing folder, but let me just get an ordinary one. Just talk amongst yourselves while I get an ordinary embossing folder. Have I got one there? Just for the sake of it, no. Here we go. So this is a 3D embossing folder from Creative Expressions. Beautiful blossoms or blooms or something, gorgeous. And I love it. And it's an English one. So if you can see the thickness of that, that's a 3D one, okay? This is a 3D one from America. Look at the difference. Oh my word. So your machine that you have and your different sandwiches, as they call it, of putting all the plates together can be so different. So you do need a bit of trial and error. You do need to take information from the instructions that you come with your folder, but your machine, but also just trial and error, because that is a huge difference. And they are both 3D embossing folders, but just different. This is a Simon Says. This one, if you've heard of the American company, huge company there, Simon Says. And this one is a Creative Expressions, which I would have said was a thick one before I saw that. So yeah, what a chunker, eh? What a chunker. Anyway, that's irrelevant. I just thought I'd show you because that really surprised me. I'm not going to use either of those. So now forget what I've just said. But however, so we have got those two. Now they're fairly standard that you would use in this case on all of your different ways of whatever you're going to do. And then you will find the extras that come with it. So if you're going to use, you can imagine what to do with this one, a cutting plate. You'll also notice A, B, C. Love that design. That's when I'm going to cut out my dies, okay? And then it needs another C on top of it. Then we have got, let's get it around the right way, D, E, and F. Okay, so you've got an adapter plate, you've got an embossing mat, and you've also got a bit of a shim. And a shim really can be just as much as, this is really quite thin, but it could be just another piece of card. So the shim side of it, you don't particularly need. The adapter plate is unique, I think, to this particular machine. And it really takes out a lot of the hard work with embossing folders, because an embossing folder is basically on this, the base, then the embossing folder, and then that top one sorted, which is again one of the reasons why I particularly like it. But you do need to sort of mix and match a little bit, and your own machines will tell you how much and how little pressure that you need. Some of the electronic ones are really something else, aren't they? I'm sure you found that yourself. So I'm going to take my little cottage, my primrose cottage. You can see it's got a lot of design on it, a lot of detail. And I've got a piece of pearl card, and I'm going to take, in this case, the base platform base, platform top, those two go on together, cutting plate, my piece of card, and I'm going to cut out just using it like that. And then my cutting plate goes on the top. So bear in mind that this is all on my desk. I do apologise that it may well make the camera shake, rattle and roll. You shouldn't feel, whichever machine that you're using, you shouldn't feel a massive anything stopping you. You should be able to go straight through with it. So let me show you, just by putting that through, what that will give you. That will give you a really pretty, hold on, you can push those obviously for the little windows. And if you feel particularly inclined, as I said, you've got the other dies to go with it as well, so that you could cut those out. But you can see that all the detail, hopefully you can see that all the details come out on there. You've got all of the thatch on there, you've got the windows, and you've got the door, and it looks pretty good. It's not bad at all. So I'm going to pop that to one side, and then I'm then going to cut it out again, and I'm going to cut it out from a slightly darker card. It's not a pearl one. You could do craft, that would work well. I'm going to use the same sandwich because I'm just cutting it out. Okay. So, oh, that one wants to come out easier. Can you see that? You can see, hopefully you can see that. I'm trying to, the camera, oh, that's better, isn't it? Perhaps with a light, but you can see that it's got all that pattern on, and you can see the the windows. Now, if you wanted to, well, I've got to try and poke that out of there. Come out. You can put, I can cut this bit here, and I'm cutting out the thatch. Now again, you may well not be able to see a great deal of me being able to cut the thatch out, but I'm just going to cut up and down here. Okay, so I'm just using my scissors to just cut wherever the thatch roof part is cut, and I'm trying to be careful as well to not cut out that bit. So this is one way you could do it. You could put your roof on there like that. You could sit that straight on top. Like that. And then you can put this one where I've got the windows still in there, the little bit still in there, behind it, and line it up so that they give, I'm not sure if you can see that, but more of a 3D effect, which looks rather nice. And I will stick that on like that. So it does give a lot of definition. There is a lot of definition there. You can add your own window frames to it, and it will give you from the extra pieces of the dies, but it will give you a fair bit. Let's bring that in the closer there. It gives you a fair bit of definition and detail to it. However, that looks nice. I like it. However, if we wanted to use, let's be ambitious and let's use this embossing technique as well. So I'm going to go straight back and I'm going to use the same card. The card is almost irrelevant. That's just the card I thought I'd use. I'm then going to tape my house back onto it, and I'm going to bring my machine back in with exactly the same cutting to it, and I'm going to cut that just all the way through. Now I've put a piece of tape on it specifically now because it's got to keep in the die whilst I take it and emboss it. So in this case, I can look on here and I can see which is the sandwich to emboss a cut shape, which is what this is. So it says that I need the platform base, that's this one. I need B, so that's A. I need B, the platform top. Then I need my die still in place and that way round so that the cutting side is up. I then need E, which is my embossing mat. And then on top of that, I need the adapter plate D, and it says it all there for me. And any of your machines will give you the sandwich that you need, or alternatively, if it didn't, you simply go online and put in what your make of machine is, and that should do the trick as well. Now also I found for me that with this die, the shim, do you remember I said about it? Could be just a piece of paper, but in this case they've even given you one, and I'm going to sandwich that in between it as well. So I'm going to put first in platform base A, then B, then my die with the cutting edge up, already cut out though. And then, most importantly, got to go next to it is the embossing mat, and then which is E. I'm then going to put in F, which is the shim, because I want to, for this, it works better. And finally, the adapter plate on top. And then I'm going to run it through. And again, when you run it through, there should be resistance, but not so that you're going, oh, 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 you know. That's quite simple to go through. Now let's take this out of the way a second, because it's in the way at the minute. So undo all your bits here. You will find that that gets quite static, actually. Put all those pieces to one side. And then I can take my die out of here. Now, again, I'm sure that you won't be able to see this from here, but one of the things that this now does, if you see those little slots here, those pieces are the actual, like a window seal for your windows on here. And what that does is it pushes the embossing mat, pushes your card through those slots, so gives it an embossed feel. Yeah. And so if I just take that out, you should be able to see the difference, that these pieces here are now embossed. Can you see? Possibly you can see. In a minute you will see even better. So we can be all sorts with something like this, with a die that works so well like this, with lots of detail. We can work in different ways. So we can do a basic, which I believe I would call this one basic first, then we can cut it out in a different colour, pop the bit on behind, and we've got rather a nice thatched cottage. Or we can cut our base, we can then emboss it with our embossing mat. If I can get these little bits out, it'd be even better. Should have got them out first, shouldn't I? Get off. Okay, and then just scoop these bits out the way. If I then take piece of scrap, and I've got myself a brown dye-based ink. I couldn't think what I was thinking of now. Dye-based ink. So you can use your distress inks, you can use your mementos, this sort of thing. And what all I'm going to do, this one is called potting soil, so it's that sort of browny colour. And I've particularly got it in a small cube-like, this isn't quite a cube, but that small one, because it's so much better for being able to do something like this. The big pads are a little bit, you're going to get ink on your fingers. And all I'm going to do is just wipe that, or swipe that, over the top of my cottage. And already I think you can see that because I've embossed it, the detail on here, look at the detail on those window ledges at the bottom, they're really now coming to life. And if I go over here as well, again, try to do it so that I'm going in the same direction, not all over the place. And I like the idea that it is picking in, sort of picking it up in swipes. That doesn't make a lot of sense either, does it? I know what I mean. Not a solid colour, but look at that little cottage. So all I've done extra, I've cut it out the once, I've then left the die in the card in the die, because it's taped to keep it still. And then I've simply used my embossing mat. I've read the instructions on my little Scout or your die cutting machine, run it through a second time, and then swiped it with ink. Now, I do like both of them, don't get me wrong. They look like two different cottages. I think this one looks perhaps like a newer one, a new thatch. But just by doing that and just making sure that, I don't know if you can, I wish you could see it. I'll try and take up a really close-up photograph, because on this one, I can't see a windowsill at all. I don't, well, can you see what I'm trying to say? That there's no windowsills there at all. So if I swiped it over there, they would be disappeared. But with that one, simply take an ink, swipe it over, and you've then got, you don't have to worry about colouring it or being, you could see all I had to do was swipe it with this. You could even do it in different colours. If you felt like it, you could even do a little bit of green within it to give it an idea of that it's got some moss growing on it, particularly old cottage, you know, the sort. But just by doing that, I think that gives a really different version and different way of using it. So I'm going to use this one for my card. I'm also going to keep hold of that ink just for a second. Somebody is desperately trying to get hold of us. And my dear husband is not paying any attention. You just can't get the staff, can you? Just can't get the staff. Can you bear with me just a minute? Sorry about that. I just had to check in case it was very important, but I don't think it was, so all is well. Okay, so I'm going to put my little house into the centre there, but I just want to take some stamps that I had about a year ago, the curved sentiments. I'm going to go for this one, the congratulations. Not really meant to go on something like this, but they fit. So that's what I'm going to go for. I'm going to take my embossing, my stamping platform. I'm going to jam that into the corner. Get myself, it's better, one of them. Now, I'm wanting to put it just about there, I think. Just bring it in a fraction if I can. So close that, pick it up. I'm going to use the same ink. Put that back in position. I'm going to use the same ink that I did the colouring with, because I think that should work quite well. Don't want anything too stark. Ink that up. And then just carefully press that down. I'm going to use it a second time. It's the beauty of these platforms, isn't it, that you can build up that colour. I don't want it too solid, but I don't want it grainy either. That's better. That's better. Can you see that? Just take that to one side. Then I will put my, it's got to have a bit of foam, isn't it? Just when you thought you would be safe. It's no good, bit of foam. You could also put, you can see when I put it down there that it shows the windows up quite well. You could even put like a little bit of gold or yellow card behind it, making it look as if there was lights on in the cottage. And ideal for sort of like congratulations on your new home is where I thought I was going with it, you know. So I'll just put those two pieces on it for now, because I don't want to put it near the windows or over the windows. Making sure that actually, I think that looks quite nice that I've used that same ink, because then the colours blend nicely, that they're exactly the same. I think that looks, quite pleased with that. And then just simply stick this circle onto this and make that as middle as I can. So it's an easy but slightly different card, a little circle rocker card. Obviously, you could make the rocker card any which way you like, but what I particularly like is the fact that you have got a different way. To me, I love it. Well, let's put that one in so you can see the difference. I do love it. It is lovely, but to me, I have to say I prefer that one. There's more something to it, that one. You could, of course, use your colouring markers if you wanted to and colour in your roof and then just blend over the bottom. You can do all sorts, really. But I just think that that is just something a little bit different for you. And maybe using something that you've already got in your stash, i.e. your die cutting machine, but using some of the bits that come with it that you may have thought, I don't know what to do with it. So there you go. That's it for today. I do hope you've enjoyed it. A few thumbs up down here somewhere would be good. I will be back on Sunday at 6 o'clock. And I've got a pretty new set for you on Sunday. So I do hope you can join me then. I was going to say, as long as you're not snowed in. Well, if you're snowed in, no more reason. As long as you've got Wi-Fi, let's hope so. So thank you very much. Thank you for all your lovely comments. It's so nice. I'm glad you liked something a little bit different today. Take care, keep warm, and hopefully you'll join me again on Sunday, which is the, who knows? Any idea? 12th, maybe? Yeah, 12th. 12th, halfway through, almost. 12th of January at 6 o'clock. I shall see you there. Stamps are hunky-dory, and they are called... What did I just say? I'll find out for you, June. June's going to write the instructions for, I should think. Curved sentiments. Essential curved sentiments is what they're called. Yeah, you will find the little this. I'll put the curved sentiments on the website, I think. I think. I will just double check because I don't know if that was the last thing that I didn't do. But the rest of it I have with the papers and everything. All right. So take care. Have a good week and I'll see you on Sunday. Many thanks. Bye.